It's GeForce Now Thursday, and today we're going to be talking about 8 new games coming to the service, but before we get to that, we have some other GFN related topics we need to discuss, so let's dive right in and get to it. To kick things off, we need to talk about a game that's going to be arriving next week, Wednesday, December 14th. I'm talking about none other than The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt Complete Edition. Now, if you haven't heard of what the Complete Edition entails, well, it's basically a free update for anyone who owns the game on Steam, Epic Games, or GOG.com. It's a pretty massive next-gen update that includes new improved visuals, a new photo mode, and content inspired by Netflix's The Witcher series. The update also introduces RTX global illumination as well as ray-traced ambient occlusion, shadows, and reflections to really make the game look good. Once again, it's an entirely free update if you already own the game, and if you're subscribed to RTX 3080 or Priority Membership, you'll be able to use all those sweet ray tracing features on. Not to mention DLSS, which is sure to give you a nice boost in frame rate. Moving on from that, we also have confirmation of GeForce Now 2.0.47 app update that will begin rolling out this week that supports syncing for Ubisoft Connect accounts to your GeForce Now library. Honestly speaking, this sort of feature is a pretty big deal for me because one of my biggest complaints with GeForce Now is the user experience of having to relog into things every now and then. I know it seems like a simple user experience thing, but these sort of additions really make the whole cloud gaming experience feel better. The last thing I want to see when I click play on a game is a login screen where I have to type in my details every single time just to play a game after all. Once you sync your Ubisoft Connect account, once this app update drops, you'll be automatically logged into your Ubisoft account across all devices when streaming through GeForce Now. But do note, this will only work for games you've purchased directly from Ubisoft or the Epic Games Store. I've got my fingers crossed that Steam automatic sign-in isn't too far behind, because once that's been added, I actually think the majority of my user experience complaints will be gone. Now, the last thing I want to mention before we start taking a look at the games arriving this week is just a quick update on 2 massive free-to-play titles getting a pretty big update, the first of which is Fortnite Chapter 4, which is honestly a huge update as it now uses Unreal Engine 5 features like Nanite, and if you're an RTX 3080 member, it'll definitely put it to work. But pushing graphics to the side, you have a whole new island to explore, new weapons to use, and new ways to get around, such as a dirt bike. There are also some great skins coming this season, such as Geralt from The Witcher, Doomslayer from Doom, and Deku from My Hero Academia. The other free-to-play title that's received a major update is Genshin Impact's version 3.3, All Senses Clear, All Existence Void. It brings a whole new season of events, a brand new card game you can play in-game, 2 powerful new allies, and more stories, fun, and challenges. The updates for both these behemoth free-to-play titles are now out and available to play via GFN. But now it's finally time we get to the games arriving this week on GeForce Now, and up first is Chained Echoes, which is a brand new release available on Steam. This is a 16-bit style RPG set in a fantasy world where dragons are just as common as mech suits. Inspired by JRPGs from the SNES era with music inspired from the PlayStation 1 era, this is definitely a nostalgic trip. The game itself promises 30 to 40 hours of playtime, fast-paced turn-based battles, no random encounters as all enemies can be seen running around, and tons of items to be looted, stolen, or crafted. Definitely a game worth looking into if you're a classic JRPG fan. Following that, we have another new release, and that's IXION, which is a brand new release on Steam and the Epic Games Store. This game puts you in the commanding position of a space station onwards in a perilous journey to find a new home for humanity. You'll have the responsibilities of station infrastructure, population management, exploration, and survival. The game's this very unique mix of survival, simulation, city building strategy game, and honestly, it looks pretty interesting. I think the overall concept of going in dark and not knowing what awaits you on this journey, be it other survivors or maybe threats, is a very enticing thing for this sort of genre. Following that, we have yet another new release, and that's Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign, which is available on Steam and the Epic Games Store. This is a medieval real-time grand strategy game where you're going to have to manage provinces, gather armies, initiate diplomacy, and dabble in espionage, all to become the true sovereign of your people and bring them to glory. Now, I can't say I know too much about this series or genre, but I will point out that the game is described to have all the depth players will desire, while also being a great gateway into the grand strategy genre. Next is another new release, and that's Swordship, available on Steam. It's described as a futuristic, lightning-fast dodge-em-up which flips the script on the traditional arcade shooter. You'll be dodging, weaving, and diving your way through an onslaught of enemies hell-bent on tearing your swordship apart. I gotta admit, the game's got a lot of charm and style to it. The way it looks overall visually is pretty interesting. It kinda gives me that Saturday morning cartoon vibe, if you get what I mean. Now we're taking a look at another new release available on Steam, and that's Togges. It's described as a colorful, charming 3D puzzle platformer where you go on adventures, stack adorable living blocks, and solve puzzles around the cosmos to save the galaxy from threats of the void. Yet another game with a bit of a crazy but yet cool looking art style. The game is set to feature 7 massive levels with close to 30 bonus levels, a huge focus on exploration with eureka moments of discovery, and a wide variety of lovely characters and funny stories. Now let's take a look at another new title, and that's Samurai Maiden, available over on Steam. In this game, you play as a young woman from the 21st century with sharp swordsmanship skills who finds herself sent back in time to a different period where samurais and ninjas exist. You'll form a newfound trio of ninja friends, and you'll be racing through the underworld beneath, confronted by enraged corpses at every turn. What can I say? It's crazy, it's anime, and it kinda reminds me of Dynasty Warriors based on the gameplay. The next game we're gonna take a look at isn't a brand new release, but it is free to claim from December 8th to the 15th on the Epic Game Store, and that's Saints Row 4 Re-Elected. This is the entry in the series where you get superpowers so you can leap over buildings in one jump, kill people with your mind, and run straight through tanks. It's a really fun game if you've never played it. It definitely focuses more on the gameplay than the story, just be aware. But especially for free, make sure you claim it. And also, as a heads up, always claim the free Epic Game Store games because you never know when they'll be supported on GeForce Now. The final title that's being added to GeForce Now this week is one that I'm sure many of you are aware of, and that's Assassin's Creed Valhalla, available over on Steam. Now, if you're wondering why I'm talking about this game now, since the title's been playable ever since it launched, well, that's because the Steam version just dropped. So if you've been waiting for this version of the game to pick up, well, it's now an option, so go ahead and enjoy. And with that, we've covered everything you need to know about GeForce Now this week. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. As a heads up, I want to add a quick end of video message here. I'll have another video scheduled for tomorrow, so be sure to stay tuned and keep an eye out on the channel. And as always, thank you for watching. I hope you have a great day. This has been the Virtual Cloud, giving you the latest and greatest on everything cloud gaming related, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.